Bizarre History Facts Part 1. The first vibrator in history may have been invented by Egyptian Queen Cleopatra. She had the idea of filling a hollow gourd with angry bees. The violent buzzing caused the gourd to vibrate. In northern China, reportedly it was common practice for men to let travelers sleep with their wives. Ancient Romans used to use both human and animal urine as mouthwash in order to whiten their teeth. The ammonia in urine was thought to disinfect mouths and whiten teeth. Sudan has more ancient pyramids than Egypt. Sudan has between 200 to 255 known pyramids, compared to Egypt's 138. Bizarre History Facts Part 2. In 18th century Empress of Russia Catherine the Great employed foot ticklers to turn her on. She employed official foot ticklers whose only job was to satisfy her foot fetishes. Cleopatra was not Egyptian. In fact, Cleopatra VII was Greek. She was a descendant of Alexander the Great's Macedonian general Ptolemy. In Japan till the late 1800s, white teeth were not considered beautiful. They dyed their teeth black in a practice called ohaguro. Bizarre History Facts Part 3. Napoleon was once attacked by a horde of bunnies. A rabbit hunt was arranged for himself and his men, but the bunnies charged toward Bonaparte and his men invisibly. Around 1200, cock rings were commonly used in Jin and Song era China and were made from the eyelids of goats. According to the biographer Suetonius, Rome's second emperor Tiberius was a pedophile. Tiberius called the infants his little fish and trained to swim between his thighs when he took a bath and nibble on his genitalia. Bizarre History Facts Part 4. Hitler, Stalin and Mussolini have all been nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize. When Israel was first formed, Albert Einstein, a Jew but not an Israeli citizen, who was offered the presidency in 1952, but he declined. Russian dictator Joseph Stalin often had photos retouched to remove people who had died or been removed from office. One of the most feared, successful and respected pirates in all of history was named Xingxi. She was forced into prostitution in order to supplement her family's income. She commanded a fleet of more than 1,500 ships and 80,000 sailors. Bizarre History Facts Part 5. In 1923, Frank Hayes, a jockey, won a race for the first time, and oddly his last. He suffered a heart attack in the middle of the race, but his body remained in the saddle throughout and reached the finishing line. Originally, nipple and genital piercings were reserved for only the wealthiest citizens of Victorian England. Noblemen and women pierced their genitalia in order to demonstrate their monogamy, which was also revered by the upper class at the time. Also, the fad of women piercing nipple grew because women believed this would make their breasts rounder and more appealing. In pre-modern Japan, it was common for aristocrats and samurai to pursue male lovers. They had a primary wife for the purposes of procreation and political alliances, and also enjoyed numerous liaisons with younger male lovers. Bizarre History Facts Part 6. In 1912, a Paris orphanage held a raffle to raise money. The prizes for said raffle were some of the orphanage's babies. During World War II, the Polish army enlisted a bear as a soldier. Hunters killed the mother and one of the soldiers took the bear in and named him Wojtek. He was trained and enlisted as a soldier in the Polish army. He was said to be very fond of beer and cigarettes. After the war, he lived in the Edinburgh Zoo and died at age 21. Ancient Egyptians used slabs of stones as pillows. To achieve a 14-inch waist, some Victorian women resorted to using uncomfortable corsets. Bizarre History Facts Part 7. Allegedly, the ancient Egyptians engaged in sex with animals, even serpents and crocodiles believed to be gods in the form of animals. Herodotus, also known as the godfather of history, reported in his historical papers that goats were trained to have sex with both men and women as part of fertility rituals. Male Chinese practitioners of Taoism during the Han Dynasty engaged in sex without ejaculating as they believed semen was the essence of life and they didn't want to lose too much of it. A French furniture manufacturer created the love chair, French siège d'amour, which allowed the obese British King Edward VII to have sex simultaneously with multiple women. For King Edward VII of England, the love seat was a special chair he had at his favorite French brothel that allowed for a comfortable threesome. Bizarre History Facts Part 8. In Victorian England, people used to take pictures of their dead relatives in lifelike positions to keep as mementos. It became a way of commemorating the dead and blunting the sharpness of grief. The Mayans regularly used hammocks for sex and had a variety of hammock-friendly sexual positions. Romans spread their own feces in their gardens. Known as night soil, the fertilizer they made from excrement did nourish plants but also aided in the spread of disease. In the Aztec Empire, a staunchly patriarchal society, male sexuality was far less controlled than female sexuality. However, adultery was cause for execution. Bizarre History Facts Part 9. Roman Emperor Caligula planned to make his favorite horse a senator. He loved his horse Incitatus so much that he gave him an ivory manger to sleep in, and even a palace with his own servants. Lord Byron kept a pet bear in his dormitory while studying at Cambridge. Byron loved animals, and throughout his life he owned a few unusual ones, including 2 monkeys, a fox, and 2 new mastiffs. The sweat and blood of gladiators was sold as an aphrodisiac. The fluids that came from gladiators were hot commodities in Rome. Gladiator sweat was used as perfume and as a beauty treatment. It was even collected into pots and sold as souvenirs. Bizarre History Facts Part 10. During the Salem witch trials, the accused witches weren't actually burned at the stake. The majority were jailed, and some were hanged. But none of the 2,000 people accused ever got burned alive. Over 150 men and women were imprisoned because they were accused of witchcraft. 19 men and women were hanged, 1 man was crushed, and 7 people died in prison. The shortest war in history lasted 38 minutes. It was between Britain and Zanzibar and known as the Anglo-Zanzibar War. This war occurred on August 27, 1896. It was over the accession of the next sultan in Zanzibar and resulted in a British victory. Bizarre History Facts Part 11. Ancient Egyptian women avoided pregnancy by shoving crocodile dung into the vagina to act as a diaphragm. Brothels were so popular with Roman soldiers that special coins depicting sex acts were minted to use as brothel currency with prostitutes. President Zachary Taylor died from a cherry overdose. He died on July 9 from gastroenteritis. The acid in cherries along with the milk is believed to have caused this. Bizarre History Facts Part 12. The first official medals of honor were awarded during the American Civil War. They were awarded to Union soldiers who participated in the Great Locomotive Chase of 1862. In 18th century England, pineapples were a status symbol. Those rich enough to own a pineapple would carry them around to signify their personal wealth and high-class status. In that day and age, everything from clothing to houseware was decorated with the tropical fruit. Vladimir Pavlik was one of the first firefighters to reach the Chernobyl nuclear power plant on April 26, 1986. The radiation was so strong that it changed his eye color from brown to blue. Like the majority of the first responders to the radioactive disaster, Vladimir died 15 days later from severe radiation poisoning.